Hello you guys, welcome back to Lily Reads. In today's video, we have ourselves a reading wrap up. I wanted to come to you guys and give you guys my kinda in-depth thoughts about the books that I read in the month of May. In May, I had a fine reading month. It was not good. Honestly, if I could give you guys a little peek into my reading year so far, because you probably won't get that till the end of the year, my reading year just has not been good, and I'm kind of worried. I'm worried about the types of books that I'm buying, because I'm starting to believe that maybe I am just buying books because other people read the books and I don't know what I actually like. Even the books that I gave 5 stars this year, which is only about 6 books out of 50 something I've read, I'm not very interested. They're not my favorites of all time, you know? So it's just something is wrong. Over the past few weeks, I've been buying some literary fiction, hoping that maybe because if you guys do not know anything about me, I am a literary fiction girl. I fell in love with books reading literary fiction. I used to like reading middle grade books. I love Twilight and reading the little series Hunger Games diversion, but I fell in love with storytelling when I found out about literary fiction. All my favorite books are literary fiction, and so I kind of gotten back more into doing that. I picked up some of the books that are nominated for the Women's Prize and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm kind of moving more towards into right now, just to see. But none of that is here right now. And I've been reading more thrillers because I've really been enjoying thrillers. But we'll move on. So yeah, my reading year hasn't been good, and May was kind of that. Just a reading year. Nothing I hated, but nothing I really, really loved. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with whatever in the pile. I read I'm So Not Over You by Kosoko Jackson. I'm So Not Over You is a male-male romance. It follows 2 people who are college age, and basically they endeavor on a fake dating scenario. So we have Keon. Keon is this student in Boston, and basically he meets up with his ex, and they discuss how maybe they should get back together for a weekend so that his boyfriend, what's the boyfriend's name? Hudson. So that Hudson can impress his parents and show that he has a stable relationship. Hudson's parents are very rich, and so he comes from an affluent family who wants him to have a normal relationship, a normal all of that, and so they're you need to be in a relationship. So he wants to bring Keon to his cousin's wedding so that his parents think that he has his life together. This book was... I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. It just wasn't that good. I'm just going to just say that. It just was not that good. I don't even have to wax poetic about it because it just wasn't that good. The characters didn't have much going on. The dialogue was not good. The romance was not good. It was losing its own plot in some places. It just didn't really hit what I wanted it to hit. I'm allergic to DNFing books. I was never close to DNFing this book, but I could see why others would. It just was not compelling. It didn't have enough going on in it. And so I just didn't enjoy it, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. The next book that I gave 5 out of 5 stars is Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. This book follows 2 main characters by the name of Mackenzie and Cooper. So Mackenzie has been forced to attend college, even though she has her own business that is making millions of dollars that she created herself. Her parents are forcing her to go to college after taking a 1-year gap year to start this business. So she goes to college in this town, and she has a boyfriend. Well, we have this other person in the book, and his name is Cooper. He loses his job at the very beginning of the book because he gets into a fight with one of the patrons of this bar that he works at. This really rich guy, starts to just say little nasty things about the fact that he's rich and I can make you lose your job. And so he decides that he is going to find this rich guy's girlfriend and basically steal her from him, and that happens to be Mackenzie. And so they embark on this dating under false pretenses type story, and things happen. I really, really enjoyed this book. This book hit everything I needed. I don't know. After reading a bunch of lackluster books this year that I feel nothing for, not even great like hate or great love, this just I ate it up. I was drying my hair a couple weeks ago and I was just reading and it was just so much fun. It was so much fun to, I don't know, it took me back to like a time in my life, like a teenage years in my life of books I like to read, and this really hit the spot for me. Everyone hates this book. I know objectively this is not a 5 out of 5 star book, but it worked for me, so 5 out of 5. The next book is my most anticipated book of the year, which is Emily Henry, Book Lovers. I adore People We Meet on Vacation and Beach Read. I think those are just flawless. So we got Book Lovers, and unfortunately I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. Book Lovers follows a person named Nora and a person named what? Charlie? Nora and Charlie. Okay, so Nora is this girl boss. She is a girl boss. She is a book agent. And basically, she's like, you know what? I'm going to get to know my sister a little bit because I haven't really talked to my sister. So, she and her sister decide to plan a trip to this small little town that one of her authors, Nora's authors, wrote about in her best-selling book. Well, when she gets to a town, she runs into Charlie. Charlie is a guy who she constantly is like, you know, they have work accusations together, and basically like they're not enemies, but they have, you know, they have some bad blood, and basically she runs into him in this town, and basically they get to know each other while they're on vacation in this town. This book just really did not greatly work for me. It was fine, and Emily Henry is not where I go for fine romance. Emily Henry has delivered 2 good romances to me, but this book just, it was long and it was runny and it wasn't tight, and I keep saying this, but it feels like a second draft of a book. Like, I feel like this is the second draft of a really good Emily Henry book. There's a relationship between Nora and her sister Libby that just takes over the book, and I don't think it's executed poorly, but I just don't care. I just do not care. Everything in this I just did not care. And Charlie as a character is just one of those heroes in a book that just is like every other hero in a book. Nothing special, nothing that makes him stand out from anyone else. So it was just like a no for me on that. 3 out of 5 stars. Mediocre. Then we have The Roughest Draft by Austin Sigmund Braca and Emily Wilberly. The Roughest Draft is about this writing duo who have split up. They used to write books together, then something happened and they no longer write books together. The woman in the little duo, she is now engaged to their literary agent that they used to have, and the man in the relationship, he just wrote a book that did not perform well and he is getting a divorce from his wife. Well, they both decided for their own reasons that they are going to write one more book together, and so they go to this place where they used to always write their books and they write one more book together, and things ensue. Now, this book started off so interesting. I was down for the ride. Then by the middle, you're just like, I do not care. What puts this book out of 2 stars is the dual timelines. This book has dual timelines for no reason. The before timeline ain't that much different from the current timeline, and that can work. That can work if doing 2 timelines that are similar but slightly different. Emily Henry did it in People We Meet on Vacation. But this just didn't do it. This just did not do. They felt exactly the same. The romance did not hit for me. It just wasn't interesting at all after the 50% mark. And so I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Now, if you watch my reading vlog, which is probably you did because, you know, that's where a lot of you came from, then you know how I feel about those books. So let's get into the books that you guys do not know about. I read The Smell of Other People's Homes by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. I've owned this book forever, but something made me pick it up. I just was in the mood for a short story, and this was what it was just like I was looking at my shelf, and I was just going towards, and I'm like, what am I doing? And before you know it, I was reading it, and I was like, because I thought I was only going to read 10 pages and DNF it, but I kept reading and I kept reading. So this book follows about 4 people who all live in Alaska in 1970, and each of them are going through their own trials and tribulations that then they all kind of interconnect. I give this book 3 out of 5 stars, and this book gets 3 out of 5 stars because it was ahead of its time. This book did not quite have the blueprint for how to make this type of book work. When you look at books now, there are so many books that do this, like all these people are in different places but they're all meet up, or these timelines are different but the timelines merge together type thing. So many. This book reminds me of Where the Crawdad Sings, but it came out a few years before the Where the Crawdad Sings, and I believe this book just didn't have the blueprint or the precedent that a book like this could work. Therefore, this book, I believe, is a little too short to accomplish what it wants to accomplish, because I don't believe the publisher or the writer believe that a long form story like this could work. Because the thing is, what is wrong with this book is there's not enough meat on the bones. There's not enough meat on the bones. Like, it's fine, but there's not enough meat on the bone. But I found myself, the more I read, being more and more compelled by the story. And if the story was long enough, I really could have got into it. But it's just not, because back then, in this time, when I'm acting like this book was published forever ago. This book was published in just 2016, but Where the Crawdads was published in like 2018, you know? I just feel like now things are a little bit different. But this book was solid. Like, I wouldn't recommend it because I just don't believe it's doing anything that you're not seeing now done better. But to go back and read it, you kind of see what this book could be. So I give it 3 out of 5 stars, but it just didn't have it had potential, but it couldn't live up to it. A book that I gave 5 stars, Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Escovedo. This will be Elizabeth Escovedo's second 5-star from me. So this book follows 2 sisters who find out they are sisters once their father dies in a crash in Puerto Rico. Okay, so right after 9/11, there was a Puerto Rico crash, a crash from Puerto Rico to JFK, I think, or LaGuardia, I don't remember, but there was a crash and it killed a bunch of people right after 9/11, and that is what this crash is like referencing in this book. And so these 2 girls find out they are sisters, and they're dealing with that newfound information that their father had a secret love child across the ocean. This book worked for me. This Elizabeth Escovedo just gets me. She gets me. This book really did work for me. Based off narrative, I gave it 4 stars because I actually felt this book could be longer. Like, I wanted to know about these people a little bit more, and this is a very short book. It's also written in like verse, like poems, kind of. So it's like, it wasn't long at all. But what put this up to 5 stars is the importance of the story. Like, so many people get forgotten in stories and narratives and all this stuff, or people aren't forgotten, but people are kind of just like eulogized and thought of as these greater human beings, and you know, my gosh. But to hear stories about people who died in unfortunate ways, realistic stories, I just felt like it was just so important. Like, I don't know, Elizabeth Escovedo tells stories to me that are so important. So I might read Poet X. I don't know why I've been putting off Poet X, but I might read Poet X. But this worked for me. Clap When You Land is a very good book. I recommend it. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This would be my second Tessa Bailey book. So this book follows a girl named Piper who gets herself arrested because she trespasses. And so because she got herself arrested, her parents decide to cut her off and send her to the city that her father used to work in. Now, she lives with her stepfather. Her stepfather is the one who's rich, but she has a father who died when she was little, and he used to be like a fisherman. And so they send her to this town to work at a bar that her father used to own. When she's there, she meets a guy and romance ensues, and she also learns a little bit about being humble and less privileged and all of that. It worked. This book was cute. This book had everything I like in a romance. It was smutty. It was nice. I like this. I will be reading Hook, Line, and Sinker, the sequel to this current month. I've heard bad things, but this worked. And you know what, Tessa Bailey, for this, you'll always be famous. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I read Casamano. Finley Donovan is killing it. I have a confession. When I was looking at these books, I don't remember what this book is about. I remember what this book is about, obviously, like the gist of it. The gist of it is Finley Donovan basically ain't got no money. She's a struggling writer who just got a divorce from her husband. So one day she is meeting up with her book publisher and they're talking about her writing a book. The book that she is writing sounds like a murder, mystery, thriller, whatever novel. But if you are eavesdropping on the conversation, it sounds like she's actually talking about killing someone. So the person sitting near her at Panera Bread is like, oh, I need someone killed and you seem like a hit woman. Can you kill my husband? And so Finley Down's like, I don't know. But then they offer her $80,000 and she's like, wait, maybe. And then hijinks ensue. So it's like a cozy mystery, cozy, you know, one of those. When I say, even though I just told you what happened, I remember the gist of this book. I don't remember the meat and potatoes of this book. This book was like a blur in my life. Like I was thinking, like whenever I look at a book, I always like to think of how it ending. I like to think of certain scenes. I can't remember many scenes. All I remember is her going to like a bar and meeting a guy. I remember them digging up. So I don't remember major plot points. This happens to me sometimes when I'm because I'm a person who reads like over 5-6 books a month. Sometimes this happens where like I'll read a book at a certain time and then like I'll read it and enjoy it. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, so I know I enjoyed it. But then I'll look back and I do not remember much of anything that really, if I reread this book, all of this would be new to me. So I'm going to reread this book this month. So when you guys see this on my next month's reads, do not be surprised. I have to reread this book before I reread the sequel, which I'm rereading the sequel this month as well. So I have to reread it because I don't know. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on this one. Like, what? I have to reread. Real by Kennedy Ryan. I read Real by Kennedy Ryan. I wanted to love this book. I've heard so many positive things about this book from people, and I just did not. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. This book started to lean sickly. Have you read it? Have you read it? Please tell me you felt that this book started to lean sickly. So this book follows a girl who basically she is on Broadway, but she is an understudy, and she gets her moment to be able to take center stage and be the main girl for a night. And when she is on stage, a guy, a director guy, he sees her and decides to cast her in his new biopic movie about this woman from Alabama who basically is a pioneer in music who has kind of been forgotten about, as a lot of things go with Black older music, and things happen. Yeah, if it was just about their romance, I would be there. I would be there through and through. But she is dealing with lupus, and that takes up a huge chunk of the story. And you guys know I don't like sicklet. I do not like books about people who are dealing with sickness because it just takes me out of it. In the romances, it takes me out of it. It takes me out of it. And that's what this did. Every time she would do something, I'm like, but girl, you're lupus. But girl, you're lupus. And she didn't care about the lupus, but I cared about the lupus. And it was just a lot. 3 out of 5 stars. 3 out of 5 stars. 2 sick ladies. 2 sick lady. Apples Never Fall by Leanne Morty. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This book follows a tennis family. And basically this tennis family is dealing with all their own trials and tribulations. But one day, the mom and the dad of this tennis family get an unexpected visitor who they just let move into their home. Complete stranger, they let move into their home. And when this stranger moves into their home, it uncovers things about this family. This was actually my first Leanne Morty book. I've never read Big Little Lies. At the time, I never read 9 Perfect Strangers, The Hypothesis Something. I never read any Leanne Morty books. So I did not know how Leanne Morty books go. And I kind of appreciate that because I'm reading 9 Perfect Strangers right now, and you'll hear about that next month. But like Leanne Morty books, like literally for pages upon pages, hundreds of pages, don't shit be happening. It's literally just character studies, but I love it. I love the character studies. And now that I've read this, now that I've read 9 Perfect Strangers and now I'm reading this, I kind of want to bump this up maybe to 5 stars. I'm going to keep it at 4, but I'm going to move it to 4.5 stars because I kind of thought Leah Morty writes like thrillers because I think Big Little Lies, I think 9 Perfect Strangers, and I never read those books, you know? So I didn't know really what Leah Morty was about. So I judged this book off of that. Like, oh, I need a huge plot reveal. But Leah Morty isn't the big plot reveal person. You kind of back your way into the twist story, into the like moment. You almost don't even realize you're there. That's just how Leah Morty writes, and I appreciate it. I like it. I'm sorry. I know it's not for everyone, and I think a lot of people, when I read reviews of Leah Morty stuff, I think a lot of people need to stop reading Leah Morty if they don't like the way that they write, because that's how reading 9 Perfect Strangers, I'm literally reading 9 Perfect Strangers right now. That's kind of what they do. Like, they're not gonna like bang you over the head with a huge plot twist. Like, and I thought so because this was the first time I read it, but I did appreciate the beginning more because I thought there was a huge setup. But I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the character studies. I enjoyed this is one of the few times where a book is following a group of characters, and I think the older people are the most interesting. The mom and dad in this story are so freaking compelling. I loved it so much. I like this book. This was a win for me. The last book that we read was The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. Either 2 or 3 out of 5 stars. I genuinely do not remember. This is one of those books I'll forget I read. So this woman has remarried this guy. They live in San Francisco, and all of a sudden the guy's company gets investigated for fraud and he goes missing, but he leaves a note. So the wife and her stepdaughter decide to go find the father and figure out what happened. This book starts off so interesting. I was in it. And then we start to uncover secrets. And little by little, you stop caring about the secret. Like, you stop caring. Like, with every secret reveal, it's like, okay, that took out some of the steam. Like, you're just slowly letting the air out of a tire. Before you know it, you're deflated. Like, you're just like, is this all that it is? And this has the worst thing I hate in thrillers or mysteries. Bad people doing bad things, which causes good people to do weird things. I hate it. It's so cheap. I hate when characters you care nothing about are the reason why characters you've grown to care about do certain things. It feels so cheap, and that's what this book does. This book also does something else. This book takes place in Texas. They go to Texas, and they act like the University of Texas is MIT. I am sure the University of Texas is a fabulous school, but they act like the University of Texas is like the best school like in the United States of fucking America. And I'm just reading this book like, what is this wet dream with the University of Texas that is going on here? That was bizarre to me. And then this book does another thing I hate in mysteries and thriller. When all of a sudden the protagonist, who we have gone to learn about, who is very normal, does normal things, all of a sudden is the best sleuth you have ever seen in your fucking life. They can literally find a piece of paper that is torn and be like, so this means this because this person knew that. I hate it. And that's what this book did. All of a sudden she turned into the goddamn CIA. Like, she just knew everything about everyone and how to do everything. Like, oh, we need to go down to Texas because you can recall dreams. And it's just like, how do you know this? Yesterday you was just a regular woman who made furniture. Now all of a sudden you literally can crack any code. Like, it's just unrealistic for her to have cracked this code so well to this mystery. And I like mysteries. A lot of people don't like mysteries. I like mysteries. I lean more mystery than thriller. I think that's why I like Leah Morty. I like the slow build. I like the uncovering things. I don't need things to be fast paced. But these are all the books that I read. Follow me on Goodreads at As Told by Kenya if you want to see like some whatever review I put on there about these books. But yeah, just a bland reading month. I'm gonna reread Finley Donovan. I'm gonna keep that out because I really don't remember like the ups and downs of that book, but I know I liked it. It was a book I read earlier in May, and I don't know. Anyways, that's the end of this one. If you guys want to see more of me, hit me up on Patreon, which is As Told by Kenya. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.